And now, more with Social Women with your hosts, Pat Cruz, Amy Diaz, and Bronwyn Dannenfelser.
I'm your co-host, Amy Diaz. Our toll-free number is 855-252-2020. And right now, we are going to welcome life coach Paulette Costa. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi. You've already given us some goodies.
Yeah.
It's a couple of weeks after Christmas, and we're still getting goodies. I love it.
It's your New Year's gift.
Oh, well, you know what? Already looking at it is just amazing. So go ahead. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a life coach and an author, and I have been enjoying lots of fun times with writing most recently, as well as different speaking engagements and getting to know more about women and life empowerment, because that's really what I'm all about, is life empowerment.
Oh, so unlike us.
Yeah, taking charge. Just taking charge of your life. Not taking charge of anyone other than you, but really being in full charge of yourself, of your own life.
How can we do that?
I'm paying attention to this one.
Yeah, I am taking notes.
Well, I think the most important thing is to know what you really want. And sometimes that's the hardest thing for us, is to just really clarify, get real clarity on what it is we want. Everything.
Is it a little vague?
Well, I like to think of one step at a time.
Oh, okay.
Because you can't really change your whole life at once. So, and sometimes that's what we want to do. We want to change everything. I want to change my job. I want to change my relationship. I want to make more money. We want to do all those things. But we have to approach them one at a time. And as we talk about painting your new life canvas, it's really just taking things one step at a time.
I love your book, Celebrating 365 Days of Gratitude. Is that something that we should follow so that we can paint our canvas one day at a time?
Well, the 365 Days of Gratitude is actually a book with several authors. So it's not really a one day at a time piece, although many people have referred to it as a daily reflection type thing. But so by reading what someone else has experienced, it helps you to look at your life a little bit differently. And that's really what Turning Points, which is my newest project, is all about. And what we did with Turning Points was we asked people to contribute different events in their lives that precipitated change. So, for example, we'll just talk about my post because it's easy for me to remember, is one is about how my fiance and I met.
Yes.
And for me to think at this point in my life that there would be a fiance and that there would be marriage on the horizon is so different.
That's exciting.
It is. It's very exciting. But it's the thing is, it was a turning point, and there were turning points that came before that.
But do you often recognize the turning point as it's happening, or it's only in retrospect, right?
Yes.
Well, you just were talking before about this letter you wrote yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And how you wanted certain things. You were congratulating yourself for different things that you accomplished, that you wanted to accomplish throughout the coming year. And when you opened it up, you thought, well, it's not everything, but if I look at it, it kind of is.
Yeah, it's funny. They're like these different markers. But if you put a vision down in more of a broad sweep, then you're probably a little bit more likely, at least, to have a goal or something positive to look forward to, right? Rather than having to get really strict about what it is that you want.
Right. I spent a lot of years training real estate agents, and and one of the things I used to tell them is, think broad instead of narrow-faced, and you'll get a lot more out of what you're looking for.
Very cool. So, do you have a favorite?
So right now, what you gave us.
I have a favorite?
You gave us your pocketbook, Balancing Thoughts,
Right.
and we were looking through it over the break. And and smack in the middle of the book is "It is what it is."
Right.
I love it. Love it. Love it. Earlier in the show, I mentioned that I had a long conversation, very cleansing conversation with my mom last night, and that's one of the things she said to me. She's like, "You know what? It is what it is," and it sure is.
Yeah.
Can't change it. You
No.
can't change it. You can only change your attitude.
That's right.
I have to say, I've had this book because I actually met Paulette at the Women's Expo at Twin River, and I received this book from her. And one of my favorites I just opened up to is "One person cannot make plans for two people."
Oh, and I discovered that the hard way.
Oh, yes.
We
And
actually
you,
wanted to.
you told me about that a little bit too. So
Oh, yeah.
Would you mind sharing that story with us?
Oh, sure. I kept it was, of course, in a relationship situation, and I was going in one direction in the relationship and assuming, let's face it, you're in a relationship with someone, so you're assuming you're both on the same path. Well, what I learned was I was making plans in this direction, and the other person was going this way. And it was a tough thing to do because I kept wanting it to be the way I wanted it to be. And I kept making plans for both of us, and it just didn't happen. So, yeah, so you got to move on.
not easy changes.
No, absolutely. But my favorite one in there is, excuse me, sometimes all your choices suck. Pick one. Because it's just a way of saying we do have choices. They're not always the ones we want, but that's how we choose control, is by choosing the choice that fits best for us.
And taking responsibility for it, too.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
a good one. Okay,
Yeah.
so tell us a little bit about the books. too.
Well, Perfect,
yes,
my novel.
yes.
Did you
We
read
have
this?
several- Okay, so I poked through.
Okay, no, it's okay.
But
That's
I
okay.
did take
you
the.
don't have to read it.
Go ahead, no, if you can possibly imagine a wall of books.
I can imagine.
Yes, that's what I have right now.
And Pat said to me the
day.
day, make me a little package and just, so I can look through it. So I, gave her all my
Did.
books.
Okay, well, this is one of the ones that are actually by my.
By the desk.
Right.
She brought a few,
I do.
and she's like, these are the ones that I want to
These are the
focus
ones I
on.
wanna
And
read.
that's one of them. I can tell you because I actually looked at it and I was like, oh my goodness, I love that.
That is fiction based on real life.
All right.
And so what I did was I took my experience of midlife challenge and I turned it into a novel. So, the names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Or the guilty.
It is not a memoir. I did not live all the things in the book. As my fiance said, please don't tell me which ones you lived and which ones you didn't. I don't want to know. And but it's also when I write, every main character needs to have a component of growth. Otherwise, to me, it's not a story. I love
That's
to read.
interesting.
I love to read suspense and courtroom drama and all that. But when I write about growth.
And you know what? It's interesting because that's almost what you'd want from people in your life. You want people that are around you that are growing every day, that are not just stuck in the same place. Because not that I wouldn't gain anything from that relationship, but when I look at my friends, I want to be able to say, you know what, I learned something from that person.
Absolutely.
Every day. And,
Yeah.
and I learned something about myself from that person because we're all growing together.
Right.
So in a way, it just it's reflective of your own life.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes I learned to stay away from that person. or I
Exactly,
learned
because
I
wanna
learned
say
to
that.
separate myself from that person, or I learned to,
because they're
do
stuck.
something better with that
Right.
person.
Right. Those are the oxygen thieves. We can't get that time back that they've just taken away from us.
And they don't always, actually.
I'm
I
sorry?
don't know. I don't think anyone takes that time away from you.
Okay.
Personally, I think it's all, it comes into, I think about Adele's song. We get the regrets are memories made.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Just every experience that you have is a
Absolutely.
memory, and it's a growth.
Right.
It's a growth
Right.
period for you. So you live and learn.
Yesterday,
one way or another.
yesterday I actually posted a picture about memories, and it was a quote about memories, and at the end of it said, I really hope that even though they may not all be good or bad, that me going back and thinking back about them and actually still remembering them, it makes me human.
Mm-hmm.
Just having the memories there, that's
Right.
what made me grow.
Right.
Made me change my mind about something, made me realize something,
Right.
and at the end of the day, made me grow.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I'm reading your philosophy here, and I love it. Change is inevitable in our lives. Our ability to accept and even embrace change and adopt new concepts is essential to our growth. If you are able, a coach, which is what you are, Paulette, can help. And if you are not able, a counselor would be a better choice. Go get some help. But I think that's classic because it is. Do you accept it, take responsibility for it?
Right.
Because that makes the decisions
Yes.
so much easier, even if they suck, right?
Make it and move
Right.
on.
Well, and a coach is not a counselor. and there are people who really need to be seeing a counselor. And, a coach is only going to help you if you know what you want to accomplish. They'll help you clarify that a little bit, but you need to still do it yourself.
Now, would a coach also help you if you know what you don't want?
Sure, because that'll help you to narrow and focus in on what
Someone
you are
said something
looking for.
interesting to me about that actually yesterday. Again, yesterday was a very kind of
profound day
for me. Because they're like, at least you know what you don't want.
Right.
Well, it's like, I don't want this, this, and that. It's like, okay, well, that's a step in the right direction.
Should have narrowed it down.
Yeah.
I know I don't like not having money.
Right now, I want to know about the 6 C's.
The 6 C's of essential empowerment, and we talked a little bit before the break about exactly what essential empowerment is, and that's giving yourself.
Oh, I hope credit
permission.
isn't one of those.
What?
Credit I'm bad with.
No. The first one is clarity, and we talked a little bit about that earlier. It's being clear about what you want. I can say, I want to make a lot more money, but how much more do I want to make? Or I can say I want to make a change in my career. Is it a change in career or just a change in jobs? What is it you're actually looking for? So you want to have real clarity. And the next thing is you want to have a commitment. You want to make a commitment to yourself that you're going to stick with this. And I've got my key ring, and on my key ring are these little tags, those little round tags that you put on your keys to identify them. Well, each of those little tags has a goal on it. And I carry that around with me all the time. So every time I go to turn my car on or I go to open my door, I see my goals in front of me. And it helps to keep me committed to what I'm going to do. Now, we talked earlier about, do you change everything at once? No, I don't have every goal there. I have my most current goals there, the things that I want to accomplish in the next 90 days. And then I take those off when they're done and I go to something else. So commit to myself. The next thing you want to have is courage, the courage to make a change, because it takes courage. Are you willing to take the risks? Because there's always a little bit of risk involved in in change. So are you willing to do that? And then have the confidence in yourself that you can do it. Okay? And then the last of the last two are conviction. Don't let anyone talk you out of it. Don't let people sabotage what you're. Oh, and don't sabotage yourself, because we're pretty good at self-sabotage sometimes. Putting off that diet, putting off.
Some of us did that at lunch today.
Okay. You sabotaged yourself.
Kidding.
And consistency. Stick with it.
Well, it's
So those
interesting
are
because confidence
6
is hard. That confidence, they are all wrapped in together.
Oh, they
because
absolutely are.
You get afraid of failure, afraid of success. I've read so many things about fear that keeps people from moving and gets them stuck. So how do you get unstuck? Is it finding a life coach? Is it going and surrounding yourself with people who know what your goals are?
It can be so many things. Yeah, a life coach, sure, is someone who can help you with things like that. But you can do some research on what it is you want. I have somebody right now researching jobs just to see what it is they might want to do, because they want to make a change in their career, but they don't know what it is. So, you've got to start branching out.
That's a big deal, too. People want certain things, but they just don't know exactly what they want.
Right.
Even I get emails and messages all the time. I'm looking for a job. Well, what do you want to do? Well, I don't know what I want to do.
Yeah.
Well, you need to know a little bit of specifics about what it is that you're interested in. What is it that you love that we can put money to?
Yeah,
somehow.
it's like we're all in the pursuit of happiness, but we don't know what makes us happy.
Well, you
Make your
gotta figure
choices.
that out. There's a great book that's called What Happy People Know. And I read that years ago. The author's name slips my mind right now. But it's very interesting about, having clarity in your life.
It's interesting that you're saying clarity, because one of our earlier guests said that was her New Year's resolution.
That was
is
her
clarity.
word for the year.
Her
Yeah.
word for the year.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
clarity.
Well, that's, yeah.
Paulette, how did you get into this? So where's the passion for becoming a coach? And I mean, you've got your writer and a coach, but
That's it's kind of been a long road, and a part of that is I have been doing training. I've trained in the real estate industry for years, and part of training becomes coaching, because training is not teaching, training is training, and then and then you've got coaching, and you have all the different aspects of it. So I started coaching really in that respect, and then just the writing. One of the things that I did as part of training was writing training programs. So learning more about writing and learning more about the components of writing was there. And so people ask me all the time, when are you going to write a real estate book? And I haven't gotten around to that one.
Well, it's interesting because I was thinking about words, and you're a wordsmith, obviously. So the words that we use to describe the situations we're in, or the way that we look at things, that's what makes all the difference in the world, isn't it? Like, or shifting your
Absolutely.
perspective and
Well, yeah, and when we're talking about painting your life canvas and the things that are important to you, some people will, I actually use crayons and paper, and people are drawing in the class what their life is like. And I once asked, I said to someone, so we're painting our new life canvas, and this woman said, my life is black and white.
Oh, no.
And I said, well, do you want black and white? If you're Ansel Adams and you want to be Peter Max, you have a problem. But if you're an Ansel Adams print and you like it that way, that's okay. So the colors, the words, what you draw, what you say. So we get a kind of a feel for what it is we want when we do that new life canvas.
Paulette, when when Pat and I were talking about you coming in earlier, she mentioned, you have such insight on relationships. So before we let you go, I think that's the last thing that I want to ask, because
I have insight on it.
Yeah, but what your thoughts?
I have experience.
Your experience, thoughts, advice as a life coach.
Well, as far as relationships go, I don't know that as a life coach, I could help someone other than to tell them to really just take care of yourself first. That's the most important thing.
I think that clarity word comes back in again too. What is
yeah.
it that you really want from a relationship?
Right.
Because
Are we looking for love in all the wrong places, or what is it that we're doing? And I can just talk about when Paul and I met. We knew immediately. We were both at points in our lives where we had been through so many trials, and I had no intention of getting this involved. And I remember when we first met, he said, "Do you think you'd ever get married again?" And I said, "Only," and I've always had this philosophy, only if it would take a relationship to a higher level.
Wow. Well, how can our
That's
listeners?
interesting.
Yeah, it just makes you think.
things that make you go,
And anyway, so Paulette, if our listeners want to get in touch with you, how can they do so?
They can call me at 772-233-7675, or they can reach me at newlifeessentials.com.
newlifeessentials.com. Thank you so very much for joining us today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.